Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. A new problem could be facing farmers come harvest time: the inability to move grain by rail in this country. A board the president established to work on the ongoing railroad labor dispute has released its report to the White House. Ag Day's Michelle Rook has details and what the next steps will be.
Clinton, the Presidential Emergency Board was tasked with finding a solution to the labor dispute between Class 1 railroads and the labor unions. The board offered a handful of recommendations, but the biggest was the increase in salary for rail workers over the life of the contract. The board recommended a 24% wage increase over 5 years for rail labor, which National Grain and Feed Association officials call a fair compromise.
You may be asking, where does that stand with respect to where the two sides were at? So the rail carriers were at 17% is what they were offering, and the rail labor, what they were requesting was 31%. So 24% is right in between those two figures.
They also suggested the railroad pay a $1,000 service recognition bonus annually versus a $1,000 signing bonus they had proposed, plus an increase in health benefits, additional personal days, and changes in how travel expenditures are reimbursed. Mike Steenhoek with the Soy Transportation Coalition says the recommendations aren't binding and the parties have 30 days to accept or reject them. During that time, the labor unions are prevented from going on strike.
Around the middle of September, there's going to be a decision to be made by those two parties. And if they don't make the right decision, it could really wreak havoc when it comes to agriculture, because that's the eve of our harvest.
The earliest possible date a strike could take place is September 16th, and Steenhoek says they're hopeful the recommendations will result in productive negotiations between the railroads and rail workers to avoid any disruptions.
We need to have our supply chain operating on all cylinders. That particularly includes our rail industry. If we don't, it's going to be one more barrier to profitability for farmers in the United States.
He says the lack of reliable rail service has been an issue for months now, and the labor disputes have only added to the problem. So agriculture needs a resolution. If no agreement is reached during the next 30 days, Congress could step in and mandate the PEB recommendations or some other agreement or settlement. Congress could also impose additional cooling off periods to avert a strike.